Are you drinking too much caffeine? That's what I want to talk to you guys about today. What is up? It is Tyson Brown here, and I am the marketing mascot of Performance Coffees. So you're going to see my face a lot. Now today I want to address to you a common question that I get asked and that people ask me, like the people always talk about all the time, is I think I'm drinking too much caffeine, or am I drinking too much caffeine? Now the first thing to think about, if you're drinking too much caffeine, you're going to know about it most likely because you're either getting jittery and anxious, you're having poor sleep patterns, and you're also, you can't focus, you just keep going all over the place. You feel like you're too wide all the time, or you're actually relying on it too much. And that can be a big problem if you're actually relying too much on caffeine, because if you rely on it too much, number one, it's going to take more to actually get you into that focus zone that you want when you're actually trying to take the caffeine. Number two, the more caffeine you have, the more it's going to stimulate you and prevent you from going to sleep at night. When you can't go to sleep at night, then you're going to have a poor night's sleep. You're going to wake up and you're going to want coffee again. And it's going to go through that vicious cycle where you're like, oh my God, I feel so tired. I need to get a coffee. I'm going to have a coffee. Oh, I need another coffee. It's 2 o'clock. And then what happens? You go again and again and again. And that's where the problem comes up. So a really good test to do, first of all, is to see how much coffee you can actually tolerate or not tolerate. Now, there's different ways you can do this. Number one is just doing a simple genetic test, which you can go to 23andMe and find out if you're actually a slow metabolizer or fast metabolizer of caffeine, because there's two different types of people. For me, I'm a slow metabolizer, which means I can only have 1 cup of coffee a day. Otherwise, if I drink more than that, I start getting jittery, I start getting anxious, I can't go to sleep, and so I know 1 is my limit. And you should be able to tell too, you should be able to tell if coffee does this for you or you need more coffee to give you a bigger hit. The second way to be able to tell this, like I said, is just to monitor your body. How much of a hit are you actually getting off coffee? So if you have one, let's say you have one at 10 o'clock in the morning and you sleep fine, well then you know you can have 1 cup of coffee. But if you have your second cup of coffee and let's say it's 2 o'clock and then it affects your sleep, well then you know you need to realize that you might not be able to tolerate as much caffeine. So you've got to think about that when you're having it and how much you can tolerate. Talking about when you're having it too, you never want to be able to have caffeine in the afternoon or night, because it's, like I said, it's going to affect your sleep. Because what it does is it affects your adenosine receptors in your head, which stops and says you're not tired anymore, you're not tired. So then when you're not tired, you can't sleep, you're awake, you're on your computer, you're doing all these things, and that way you just don't have a good night's sleep. And like I said before, it goes in that vicious cycle. So another thing to do is, if you think you are drinking too much coffee, cut it out from the afternoons, replace it with a green tea, replace it with a black tea, or replace it with just something like water, which you should be drinking a lot of. So cutting out that coffee after, I like to actually say to my clients, about 12 o'clock in the afternoon. But if you needed just that little bit, stop at 2 p.m. So far, if you think you are drinking caffeine, make sure you can tolerate it first by seeing how much you can tolerate. Number 2 is to stop it after lunchtime, so you're not going to get that, you're not going to be able to stay awake at night and feel jittery and just be like, oh my God, am I drinking too much? A third thing is, if you feel like you are drinking too much, don't completely cut out coffee. Replace the habit, okay? So if you're having 3 cups of coffee a day, have 2 cups of coffee and then have 1 decaf coffee. And then replace that with 1 cup of coffee and then 2 decaf coffee, because it's not really that you need the coffee, it's that habit. It's that habit of having like a 3 o'clock in the afternoon coffee or a 2 o'clock in the afternoon, after work, you want something to pick you up. Instead, try and replace that. So don't try and completely cut it out, replace it with something healthier. And there are 3 simple ways you can actually see if you're having too much caffeine and how to cut it down. So you can either do genetic testing or just listen to your own body. Number 2 is that you make sure you cut it out after lunchtime. And number 3 is that you want to make sure that you're replacing that, if you are having too much, with just a replacement such as decaf or a green tea, and then slowly working your way down from there. I'm Tyson Brown from Performance Coffees, and I'll speak to you guys next time.